Dear students, today we are going to see literature searching and reviews as chapter 4. So, literature searching and reviews aims to help the research scholar to know the process of literature survey, how to conduct a literature search, how to manage the information that is obtained during the search, how to perform critical evaluation of the information obtained during the search, and finally how to write the literature review from the selected information that is obtained. So the introduction part is going to deal with any computing project or some similar activity will be assessed based on the written report. So whatever you are doing, whether it is inferior or moderate or superior, whatever the methodologies that you have taken, whatever evaluation methods that you followed, right? Ultimately, all these things will be judged based on the report that you are going to submit as your final document. So, a good work or a bad work is distinguished based on your initial level of investigative work, which is nothing but the literature search and review. So this really makes all the difference. If you have a right literature and you have identified the research gap, then that will be the best starting point where you will be able to produce a good research project. Literature survey acts as an introduction to your project and serves a number of purposes. It justifies your project. So the literature survey, as we have mentioned, makes your work more strong. In the sense, first of all, it shows that your project is worth doing and your investigation is meaningful and worthful and will definitely offer a good contribution to the knowledge base at that particular field of research. So we need to be very careful here that we are not going to repeat the work of others, what is already carried out. So in order to identify the right start for your research, it is mandatory that you choose the right literatures, find out the current research gap, and then start your research from there. So this literature survey also evaluates your work with regard to the past research in the field of your choice and also the current research which is in context with your area of specialization, be it undergraduation or post-graduation. This literature survey also gives a clear point for other researchers to understand what you have contributed in terms of your research, and also a point from where they can start their research, keeping your findings as a base. Process. The literature survey process is split into two distinct concurrent stages. One is search, the second is review. So, for the purpose of understanding it better, we are going to look at it in this simplistic way for having clarity. However, these two components represent the bulk of work that is involved in performing the literature survey. So the process starts like this. You define the area with regard to the specialization of your study. After you define that, you are going to search for the literatures. So where to search this literature is another task. We are going to discuss in detail about that. Then after you do a search, evaluate the worthiness of the material that you have collected. Then you will also take important notes from the selected material that are in your collection that came through the search in some order: year, chronological order, based on the importance of publication. That way you will go for some kind of an ordering. And then you are going to go to the redefining phase of your search. Now, the second phase will be going into more deeper and specific areas of your area of interest. So you do the same thing after collecting the idea of redefining or refining the search. You do the literature search again, evaluate the material, note the important points, until the time where you are able to satisfactorily land on very, very important, tangible literatures. Literature search is a systematic gathering of published information relating to a subject, quoted by the University of Derby in the year 1995. So there are two important terms that we have to look at here. One is systematic, the other is published. So the systematic would mean that you cannot perform your search in an ad hoc manner, but you should approach the task of literature searching in a structured and in a professional way. Then the published literature. The published literature means something to us in the sense, now when I say the word published, that means it is already recognized by somebody. Now again, we add some more filters to this published, that is, this publishing done by whom? So there are reputed agencies in the task of publishing the research literatures. So you may have to choose them in some prefixed or planned manner and collect this information that are particularly published. If you see, generally you go for a search in an internet, you get a lot of results, but the biggest issue is that it is not a published or a accepted work. It could be simply an opinion by somebody else. So, when we say published, these literatures have been assessed for their academic worth by the experts in the field, and also it is accepted as a significant artifact. So, we have to keep 2 points in mind when you start the literature search. One, you have to allow a plenty of time. That means to do a quality literature search, you need a lot of or long time. So, therefore, without wasting time, the moment you decide on the topic of your research, you should immediately start working on your literature search. This will help you to collect or gather enough materials without wasting much of the time. And one should also ensure that he take the note of full reference of any material that he has obtained. So, once you file them in some order, as we suggested, based on some chronological or year of publication based, or based on the reputation of the publisher, right? One of the order will definitely be enough. So, this will help you later on to take the details from those articles for your specific purpose. And what we have to note down here is that it is also important to avoid plagiarisms. You should not copy the work of others. So this plagiarism is covered in section 8.5 in our reference book. Further, details can be had from there. We skip it at the moment. Format of information. The literature that one searches could be available in different formats. So, there are some forms that are academically valuable and worthy. So, we may have to follow this list so that you will efficiently use your time for the literature search. The list is not exhaustive, and depending on, once you understand actually what kind of information that you will get from these kind of forms, then it will be easy for you to collect them and then use them. More about the sources, you can refer texts from Blackster and others, 2006, Docaria, 2007, Saunders and others, 2007. Firstly, books come in the first place. Well, when you start your literature survey, when you start it with a book, you will have a good grounding and good overview about your choice of topic. And we have to remember that most of the time, contents in the books are not that much up to date. However, the books will help you, will give you sufficient detail about the area and form just a foundation for you to have some clear idea. So the next form of literatures can be obtained from journals. When we say journals, we are talking about the referred journals. So these referred journal articles are most of the time up to date in the area of chosen field, and They are also from the latest developments in that area. So therefore, it will be easier to build a solid understanding in your chosen subject. With the idea that you obtained from the books that you referred, and then to go for the latest developments and ideas from the journal articles. Next will be the conference proceedings. Most of the time, the conference proceedings at national and international level may or may not have quality articles depending on the careful choice. There are also good international standard conferences where a right research articles could be found. CDs and DVDs. Interestingly, these days the literatures are also available in the form of CDs and DVDs, which are in a more readable and accessible format. So one can choose to look at them for necessary informations. The next form of literature are company reports. These reports or documentation from the company can provide valuable information for case studies. However, care must be taken with this kind of material as they could be subjectively biased in favor of the company. Next is thesis. So theses are the published reports or dissertations of PhD candidates or MPhil candidates. So they represent the work of the researcher and definitely provide a contribution in that particular field. So one can go ahead and go through these literatures, which can probably help you to start a right footing and collect enough information for the choice of yours. Manuals. So when we say manuals, they provide valuable source of information, and it might be possible for you to perform your project without having access to this relevant technical manual at all. So these manuals can be just combined with the software which is in the next level. So most of the time when you are going to use a simulator or a software or a hardware and software based implementation, you may take the help of the manuals and then study your software enough so that you can exploit the libraries and tools and components that's contained within. The internet. Now, internet is the most valuable source of information. However, it cannot be treated as a authenticated source and you cannot refer to it. If you really look at to collect any data, any information, first we go to the internet and Google it. And definitely we do get a lot of information, but those information are not standard, are not from some referred materials. So you should be very careful while you are collecting the materials from internet. And that's the suggestion from Ohio State University Library in 2008. If you are just browsing a site for collecting some information, you may have to be careful about what is the purpose of the site. Whether the purpose of the site is to provide some information or to sell a product, right? So this will make a lot of difference about the information that you can get from there. They may be biased, they may be promoting a product. But however, that is not for what we are going and browsing there. When the site was last updated, so how current materials are present there. Whether the site belongs to an official professional government academic research body like IEEE, Project Management Institute, British Computer Society, etc. Are there copyright issues associated with the material? Is the site recognized from other sources? Is it a recognized body? Is the material that's present is biased? Does the author have a vested interest in the topic? So we need to just, think about all of these things before you can collect anything from internet. Tracing the information. Well, internet actually is the best place where you get a lot of things. But we should be very careful how we are going to exploit the web browsers and access the websites with the genuinity is a question mark. So it is better to go for searching the literatures from the general search engines starting from Google, Yahoo, Lycos or Wikipedia. But we need to understand that the information that you get from these search engines cannot be academically referred. You cannot refer them to, google.com, information obtained from google.com or so, it is not, academically going to be accepted. So you can go for different mailing lists and news groups. So they can help you with, providing answers for your questions and some updated help from the researchers in that particular community, etc. Now, you can get one such from jiskmail.ac.uk. The URL website snapshot will be shown in the next slide. intuit.ac.uk/sciences is a free services that are provided to obtain information in engineering, mathematics and computing. They will allow you access to best web resources in education and research. was.mas.ac.uk has a good collection of science and engineering publications and holds the journals of something close to 57,000 in 164 scientific disciplines. The next is the researchnavigator.com. The site is maintained by Pearson, is a well-known name in the publishing industry. They hold a lot of information, books in a number of research disciplines. You can access them. Next is acm.org, which is a digital library containing a lot of material in the area of computing. The collection of computer science bibliographies can be obtained from LIIN www.ira.uka.de. So from the site you get a lot of bibliographies in terms of science, particularly in computer science and also various other areas related to computing. The IEEE Computer Society holds a lot of online bibliographic database under www.computer.org website, which also can be referred for the purpose of getting good. You see the snapshot of the mailing groups and newsletter literature databases. The snapshot talks about JISC Mail, Intute, and ISI Web of Knowledge, that is wsmias.ac.uk. Right? These are the snapshots from where you can pictorially get more information. Managing the information. Collecting a large number of articles and books relating to your subject is very good. But what matters is how are you going to first get the best out of it. Two, how are you going to make use of them at the appropriate places? Some people are, smart in this aspect where they will be able to get what they want from a huge bundle of debris, but generally the best way is to manage the whole collection of these research literatures using some conceptual model. That means, we might have collected a lot of related material to your main research area, and also along with the sub areas of your interest. But how are you going to store them and retrieve them whenever you need? So a good idea suggested here is that use the RTM, the relevance trees or a spider diagram, right? So you might have stated pictorially the important areas of your research with the links starting from the research area, and if you have some 5 or 6 related topics stated in your spider diagram or in relevance tree, so in the same order, in the same kind of a link, place all the research materials in different envelopes or folders and arrange them in the same order of your relevance tree or spider diagram. Another important strategy to follow is to set up an indexing system. Right? So when we say indexing is a way of arranging the collected material so that it will be useful when you need, you can use some search pattern. You should also use the word processor and update this information in a computer so that you will be able to record the references like title, keywords, brief overview, useful quotes, etc. So that when you complete your research, it will be very easy for you to pick up these references and place them into the documentation. So the good way of managing the reference will be to use the refman.com. Right? Please go there and find out how you can place your research article, highlight the key phrases, right, and mark the areas of important concepts, right, so that it can be later on used. Critical evaluation. It is all good that you have gathered a lot of material, articles, books pertaining to your research, but how are you going to digest them? In other words, understand them with regard to the area of your research. One is that simply taking the statements by face value and use them. But most of the time it is not really very okay to do that. Instead, if you critically think about those things that you read or have collected, that will make the best result for you. The critical thinking could be like this: what kind of an article is it? Whether it's a review paper or an evaluative paper or a theory paper or a practical paper or a case study, etc. Or you can also critically look at it like, what do you really gain from this article? New idea, new technique, or some codes which can be used in the literature review documentation? Or is the author a well recognized person in the particular field? What contribution this article is making? How does the article fit in within the context of our research? Do conclusions follow logically from the work that has been presented in these literatures? Can you differentiate fact from unsubstantiated opinion? What do you feel about that has been written? Does the article contradict our viewpoints or support the status quo? What references does it use? Are there limits to what the author is suggesting? Can you use the results from this article directly in your own work for the purpose of evaluation? So all these things can be used as a critical thinking points. In addition, Rootstam and Newton in 2007 in their research paper add some additional points which we will be using for the purpose of looking at this literatures critically. Rootstam and Newton have placed their recommendations into 5 key sections. 1. Conceptualization. 2. Theoretical framework and hypothesis. 3. Research design. 4. Results. 5. Discussion and summary. So these things, when we translate to computing projects, can be summarized as: what is the major problem or issue being investigated? How clearly are the major concepts defined or explained? Is there a clear research question or hypothesis? What type of research design methodology is employed? Is it suitable or reliable? Have algorithms and statistical techniques been employed appropriately? Is the choice of measures like sample size, data are appropriate? Can generalizations be made from these results? Are the implications of the results discussed properly? What is the overall assessment of the study? The main point of critical evaluation is that you think about what you are reading, not simply taking the contents of the book or a literature. So this critical reading is defined by Blackster and others in the research paper 2006. Some key points are taken and placed here. 1. A critical reading is one that goes beyond mere description by offering opinions and making a personal response, relates different writings to each other. When we read different things, understand how related they are, does not take what is written at face value, views research writing as a contested terrain within which alternative views and positions may be writing literature reviews. Now that you have collected enough literatures from different materials, books, journals, conferences, internet, manuals, or wherever you have collected all of them, indexed them properly, and arranged them, right? Now, your job is to present those things that you have critically evaluated and collected and indexed in the form of a literature review. So, how do you present your understanding of your field and set the foundation for your project, right? It is done by the literature review writing. As stated by Gall and others, cited by Saunders in 2007, identify the purpose of literature review as 1. To refine your research question and objectives, to highlight research possibilities that have either been explicitly identified by other authors or have possibly been overlooked by them, to avoid repeating the work of others, to identify research methods and strategies that may be usefully applied in your own research. Figure 5.6 and 5.7 is giving us the different literatures that we have already referred on the research area of our choice, different books that are having concepts or details of your specific research subsections are shown here in an interlinked manner. Part A to Part D to document A, etc. Right now, all these things are going to be interrelatively talking about the area of our research. Now, what we do is that, as it is shown in the figure 5.7, you will try to divide the related information from all these sources into some subtopics of A, B, C, D. Right? Now, the subtopic A might contain the information that is present in paper A, paper B, book B, and paper C. Or the subtopic C might contain information from paper A, book A, and book B under a different subtopic of your research, right? So this way, when we separate the literatures before we start documenting, this will give us an idea how can we write our literature review. However, there is no steadfast rule how a literature review should appear, otherwise limited by the format given by your college or university or department. Recommended by Saunders and others in the research paper 2007, there are three common ways how you can present the literature review. One, as a single chapter, or as a series of chapters, or subsumed within the report itself, the entire literatures. Where and when a particular issue is being handled. Quite clearly, the approach you adopt is up to you and is something about which your supervisor is asking you to follow. Something that we need to remember, a literature review is not a report that lists all the papers and books you have read and collected information is about. So you must be very selective to put in the literature review what parts of or aspects of those book or research paper which is contributing something to your work. And this literature review document should not dedicate a page or paragraph to any article. You understand? That means we have to mix the things that are highlighted throughout the research literature review. Highwood and Rag suggest that no one full paragraph should not be talking about a particular research paper or book itself. So now there is an assignment that you have to submit. Please do your assignment consulting the reference books that I have downloaded, and then please email me. The chapter is completed. Thank you.